Hey guys, welcome back. Super happy to have you. This is a quick conversation where I talk to my friends and some colleagues and family members about the side businesses or projects that they have going on. And today I'm happy to be joined by my good friend, Miss Melanie Knight. How are you, Melanie? It's good to see you.
I'm good. How are you?
Good, I'm good. I hate the phrase, these unprecedented times that we are in, but alas, here we are in that time. How are you surviving there?
I think so far so good. Under the circumstances with a teenager and my mom here, it could be worse.
I got a brother,
could be
so
better.
I understand. Finding the quiet time and space to do these interviews is a chore within itself. So I totally get it. So we're talking to you today because we worked at Disney together. We were Disney colleagues. What was your trajectory over there? Like, where did you come from? Go, oh, look at it. That's adorable.
I have my mini car. I have my car. She stays in my studio.
Nice. But now, before minivan, you were monorailing, right? So transportation's been your thing?
Correct. Transportation, I've been in for 18 of my almost 24 years.
So now, obviously, I'm having you on the show because we all have that little side thing, that little extra. And you, one of the most unique, most people I know that have a side thing is a direct sales or it's a health and wellness thing, something. But you're super creative in many ways, shapes, and forms. But your site, you pottery, right? Is that
I do.
Phrase it? Is that?
I am a potter.
A potter. Oh, you're a potter.
I'm a potter.
Of course, when I think pottery, I think ghost is what comes to mind off the top of my head.
Oh no.
No, should we not go in that direction?
No. Bad.
So tell me all about it. How did you get started doing all that?
Well, I took my first pottery class in high school many bazillion moons ago. When I went back to school, it took me a long time to get my bachelor's degree. I had an elective in pottery from community college. It's already had some electives built in, and I intended to focus on photography, as that's my other love of art. And when I graduated, I had focused all my time on photography and pottery, but feasibility, it was easier to put a pottery studio in my garage versus putting a darkroom in my garage.
Materials for pottery probably store easier than all the camera equipment.
It's more the return on investment. Because I prefer film photography, the investment into the film and processing over time, it's not necessarily something that is sought after. Whereas a craft like pottery, where there is art, but it's also a craft, there's a little bit more demand for it because I make functional work, which are everyday items. Some fun things on the side, but mostly everyday items.
So let's go back to that transition. How did you go from that photography aspect into the actual molding or creation of stuff?
When I graduated from UCF in 2016, I focused on saving my money to buy a kiln. I'd already owned a pottery wheel, and I slowly built up my studio space that I've got. So I have a kiln, I have my wheel, and I make my own glazes. And then there's a local pottery supply place where I get any other raw materials from that I need.
So you just said you already owned a wheel. How do you just own you're like, oh, I happen to, this came with my house. Like it.
No. I, because of my situation, I'm a single mom.
Okay.
And my daughter in school, it was hard for me to spend a lot of time in the studio at UCF because from my house to there is about a 45-minute to an hour drive. So I worked with my professor. I found someone who was selling a wheel on Craigslist, and I bought the wheel and put it in my garage, and I would transport my work to UCF to work on it there and finish it. So I'd work on it here, and then take it there to finish it and get it fired and glazed and everything.
That's so cool. But now you have all the elements to do that at home. Is there a piece in particular that you're best at?
I don't know that there's a best. It's more a cathartic business for me. Okay. And I consider myself a small batch potter. I would say every 6 to 8 weeks is a full cycle from start to finish for a lot of pieces, so that I have a kiln load. but I don't know that I have a best thing. I kind of will sit down at the wheel and go, I want to make this.
Just let it.
And see what I want to make. And then maybe 50% of the time the clay's like, no, I'm going to be this instead. And so it just kind of depends what the mood, the moment, and what happens. But I do like making mugs. I am a coffee addict, but I do like making mugs.
What are the other pieces?
Well, on the wheel, bowls, plates, mugs, cups, vases, salt shakers. I've made salt pigs. I've made cauldrons for Halloween. I've made jack-o'-lanterns, or I've thrown the vessel and then modified it to be a jack-o'-lantern. But that's pretty much the gist. I also do a little bit of hand sculpting. I make these goofy little critters. They're mainly owls. I like owls.
You love the aspect of like everything is individual, everything's different. It's not molding and just recreating the same thing over and over again. Is there an interest in that at all, or you strictly want to keep with the everything is unique within itself?
I like the idea of at some point working some dinner sets and things into my repertoire. What I like about it is the process.
Sure.
Taking the clay from its softest point into the processes all the way through to firing for the first fire, then firing for the glaze fire, and then seeing what comes out at the end. Depending on how the spring goes now, I have a little bit of a plan to work on dinner plates, and I was hoping by Christmas to have sets, four-piece sets around Christmas time, and have a few of those available. But we'll have to see how the unprecedented times go.
Well, I was going to say, presently, as I've said to numerous people, all you have is time right now. So
I know, right?
What better way to start getting those together? So what do you got? Do you have anything to show us? Can we see some? Well,
I have a couple things behind me that I'm working on. This is just a cup that I've carved into with flowers.
Pretty.
It's in the process of drying. This will be a planter.
Okay.
A little drain. And then I'm working on pour overs. So I had a request from a friend of mine for a pour over for coffee. And this one down here is drying, so I'm not going to take the container off because I'd most likely drop it. Vases. I was taking pictures yesterday. These are just a couple little vases I've got that have the flowers in them container.
Very cool.
So now,
beginning.
I don't make anything huge, but.
Huge doesn't matter. I think at this time, people are looking for more practical things. But especially in this time, like everyone's looking to support those small things, and anyone can go to Disney and get something with Mickey on it, but to get not even personally molded for you, but just something that the person that was able to craft it, I think is what people might be, I'm hoping, clamoring for at the moment. So A to Z, you do everything from the clay to the mold to the design to the sculpting within the thing to the painting, whole process, just you.
That's me.
That's incredible.
Me.
That's awesome.
It's my thing.
But it's cathartic. And so do you set aside time to go do it, or just lightning light bulb appear and you're like, I'm gonna go, and off you go?
A lot of times I have a light bulb idea and I want to say, I want to do this. I have a sketchbook and I make notes in and I keep track of those things. My business has been official since 2017, so it'll be this summer will be 3 years, and it's still been a growing process for me as I go. I've done a few shows. The Orlando Pottery Festival is one. They'll have a show closer to Christmas. Hopefully it will still happen. But I just kind of make what comes to mind. I do take a few custom orders here and there, not many, just because of the time, but typically Sundays are my studio days. So I'll go out and that's when I start fresh work, and then work through that, and then take the pieces through the process from the wheel, starting to dry, any trimming that needs to be done and whatnot through the week. And then things usually have to dry at least a week to 2 weeks before it can have its first fire in the kiln.
Oh, wow.
And then after that, kiln usually is like a 24 to 48 hour process, depending on the firing schedule.
Gotcha.
And then after that, glazing, reloading the kiln and all that time-wise. Takes about a month to get through a bunch of things.
Plain mud, that's like 4-week process.
Yep. So the things, everything back here, these I threw, what's today? Wednesday? No, today's Tuesday. Those I threw on Friday. Okay. And they were dry enough on Sunday. I spent some time out here and did the trimming from the bottom and to clean up all the edges, and then did the carving. And then those will need to dry for at least another 5 to 7 days before they could go in the kiln. But because it's a slower process, I wait till I have a full kiln load to run it.
Gotcha.
So I won't have enough things for it probably for another 2 to 3 weeks.
I'm learning so much about pottery in itself. I had no idea that it took that long to create things. So again, when you're looking at those dinner sets, are you looking to maybe create a mold where it's just recreation, or do you want a set of 4 to be four individual plates and whatever the set be?
Well, I'm going to be trying a new process, something I've never done. I have what's called well, it's a type of mold, and of course, right at this moment, I can't think of what it's called. Okay. It's in our world, a slump mold. So you start with instead of throwing it on the wheel 100%, you start with a slab of clay.
Gotcha.
And then you drape it over the mold, and you form it to the mold and let it dry a little bit. And then you take it to the wheel to finish off and smooth out anything from the slab, and then add a foot around the bottoms. Like if you flip your plate over, you know, plates have that little ring on the bottom. It's called a foot. And then you add the foot to it and smooth it in. And so it's a new process. I just invested in the setup and the molds, and they came like 2 days ago.
Nice.
So that's my next process.
You're always in learning mode. Everything is a new experience, and you're learning as you go, and never settle, right? Always be.
No, there's always something to learn. There's always something new, or someone goes, "Hey, do you think you could make this out of clay?" And I'll be like, "Yeah, let me try." You know.
And you no better way to do it, right? If you don't know,
right.
It's easier to say maybe than it is to say no. That's I'm fascinated. Like I would love to be able to sit and talk with you and watch you make something. Are you able to have someone with you talking to you while you do it, or is it like, nope, blinders, just this?
It depends on my mood, really. I actually did my very first kind of exposition at the beginning of February. I was invited to a women's conference as a participant at a church in Ocoee. They were looking for a potter, specifically a female, because it was a women's conference. And I actually demoed while one of the women was speaking. And she was using pottery as there's an analogy with the Bible story about the potter. Jesus and the potter, God the potter. And we were walking through the processes of where I start with the throwing, which direction I go, what happens if something flops, can it be fixed? And so there was kind of an analogy for every step of what I did. So for me, that was the first time I demoed, and it was scary. It was scary, but it went really well.
That's good. That's good.
I was shocked, but pleased at the same time.
I'm super curious of what the analogy. All the analogies.
If you want to, I have lawn chairs. If you want to come over and sit in the driveway, it's shady in the afternoon.
You
can come watch. I can keep 6 feet.
Sounds good. Definitely. I'll put it in my calendar. We'll figure out some point in time where I can come and do that. I'd love to see the pieces in person too. I'm cool. definitely intrigued by all of it. Anything else you want to share with us before we get going here?
I just want to say thanks for the consideration and spotlighting those of us with little side hustles.
Well, you are very welcome. Thanks for participating, and I miss you. I miss your work, and we'll find our time to spend together in the future, I'm sure.
I don't doubt it.
Where can we find your stuff?
Well, my little studio I call Kindred Owl Studio. Because it kind of came from my two loves of art photography and pottery. So when it started, it was those two things I was doing, but then I could solely focus on the pottery now. So kindredowlstudio.com, the website is there. I also have a shop on Etsy under Kindred Owl Studio, and I have Instagram and a Facebook page. for the
Oh,
studio.
fantastic. So wherever this lands, whether that be on the YouTube or the Facebook or any of those locations, we'll put descriptions in above or below in the comments. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Enjoy the rest of your day and rest of this quarantine time, and we'll see you on the other side. Yeah.
Will do.
Thanks, Mel. Guys, thank you so much. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and of course, keep watching videos. We'll see you next time.